Your podcast host has been in the comedy club business for nearly 2 decades, that's right. And he has worked with comedians like Ralphie May, now he's a big boy, Joe Rogan, he's tough here, Kevin Hart, Russell Peters. Please welcome, okay, your host, Sean Traynor. Do it.
Well, welcome. My name is Sean. This is Sean's Green Room. I got Mr. Paul Verzi here.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. Little credits for you. Comedy Central, True TV. You got your yeah, it is old. I got your podcasts, 2 of them.
Yep.
The Verzi Effect,
yep.
And the one with a gentleman, Burry or something.
Yeah, somebody, a guy you might know, but
somebody. But
yes, anything better.
I got you here in Dallas doing the clubs this weekend.
Yep.
And I wanted to snag you up and bring you over and chit-chat a little bit about the comedy scene. A lot of people, they think this is easy. And the reality is, you've been doing it for like, what, 2-3 weeks now, this comedy thing?
Yeah, I started.
It's a pretty quick process, right?
Yeah, it's been, I was 2 weeks and then into the 8 rooms.
8 rooms,
Yeah, by day 10, I got nervous. It wasn't going to happen.
I know, right? I tell people all the time, hey, man, no patience. Like if you don't headline on your first gig, you just give this thing up.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you've been doing this since like 2003, right?
I would say I've been going hard since 2003. Before that, like the first open mic I ever did was like 99 up in upstate New York, Woodstock, New York. Did some like bar open mic, but then you're not getting up for months, weeks. If you are getting up, a place will be like, okay, bring paid customers. We'll give you 5 minutes. Right. They tell you you're going on stage at 9 o'clock. You end up going on at 11:30. Your 5 friends or 3 friends just watched comedy for 5 hours.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing. So, but then I started getting into contests. I started doing urban rooms. I did the black circuit. I did the anything I can.
Those are hard rooms.
Contests. That's sink or swim shit.
It is. It's great for comedians to go through that channel because it makes you so tough.
Yeah.
Because when you do well, you do really well, and when you do bad, you do really bad.
Yes.
So
that's actually really the best way to put it. Like when you kill there, you walk out like, oh, I'm gonna be a star. I just leveled. But then when you're, if things don't go well or you fight through it, you kind of leave like beat up a little bit. So, but that was good for me early because I wanted it so bad that I was just willing to do that. I drove from upstate New York to Harlem to perform for no money for 6 minutes in front of 250 black audience members who probably would have booed me off stage, and they ended up loving me. So you know what? That hour and a half drive back upstate that night
was nice.
Yeah. And so doing all that. So I would say, yes, I've been going hard since probably 03 as far as submitting myself for festivals, contests, and then, probably been a pro now for about 16, 17 years and an A-room headliner for probably I would say 5 years now. So
that's good. So rewinding back to when you got started. So were you born and raised in the New York area?
Yes.
Okay. So you're like authentic. You're not like one of those immigrant New York comics. So.
No.
Oh, good. Now you are married. Correct.
Yes.
You have 2 kids?
I do.
Okay. So how are they with you being gone all the time?
Well, I try to do a balance, Sean. Like I try to make sure that it's like, all right, like I'm in Texas this weekend. Next week when, I won't maybe put in like certain avails to my New York clubs.
Okay.
Or if I'm not going to go on the road for a couple of weeks, I kind of make sure. Pandemic put a lot of things into perspective, dude. That's really what it was. Like now I'm realizing, okay, I could be off stage for a little while and still be okay. And we were talking about this last night. I've been talking about this with a lot of comedians is we get on this hamster wheel. Before pandemic, you're on a hamster wheel. Oh, I got to do spots. I got to do that spot. I got to do that spot. Oh, there's a new booker there. So that booker's got to start. And you do all these things for like not great money and you're running away from your family and you're running away. And pandemic, like, hold on, man, pump the brakes for a second.
Right.
No. I'm going to work. I mean, I was working I work very, very hard. I'm a hard worker, but I started to realize, you know what, man? My family's here. Let me work as smart as I am hard.
Right.
And
you
that's
can
the
afford
thing.
that at this point of your
That's
career. You know,
yes.
You're not a baby in the game. So
That's a great point. Like a younger comic kind of has to do that.
they're still trying to find their voice.
Right. I was able to, with the special and with some things that happened in the last few years, kind of get to a point where maybe I didn't have to do all those things and I can concentrate on my family and my personal stuff more. And it is a fine balance, and I think I'm doing good with it. And I think that my kids get a good sense of, dad being there.
How old are your kids?
They're 11 and 8.
Oh, that's good ages.
Yeah.
They still like you.
It's getting, I know.
Oh, it's gonna be bad in a little while, but man, they still like you.
They
That's
still
correct.
they still want to hang. They think dad's cool, but I can start to sense that like pretty soon it's like, Dad, I'm going with my friends this weekend. Like, get out of here. So I'm trying to hang on.
Do the kids ever watch any of your material?
Yeah, they do. They do. I did a big joke with my daughter that went viral on the special. I'll say this. It's got like 5.2 million views just on TikTok,
Right.
and it's got more on Facebook. But I did a joke about me and my daughter having a lightsaber fight in the living room with the Star Wars lightsabers and that thing. So she's like really psyched about that. But now in the new hour, my new special, there's a big story with me and my son playing one-on-one basketball.
Yeah.
So
who's your favorite? Oh, you gotta throw the other one in
So
there.
like I told him, I said, Lucas, I know Sophia was featured in the first one, but don't worry, you're in the sequel.
Hey, maybe you could get 5 million. I don't know. Just keep liking and sharing.
Yeah.
So with the wifey, did she think you're funny still, or?
Yeah, man, she's been really like supportive, dude. Like one of the best things that I did, Sean, to be honest, during the times of the contests and the coming up and no manager and no agent and like, the scary times, me and her sat in a diner in New York City, and one of the smartest things I ever did. Anybody listening to this, if you're in this business and you're thinking about a family, do this shit because it still pays dividend. It still was a smart thing. I looked at her and I said, look, she's a beautiful girl. Could have went to any college, got all A's. Like, just a smart, beautiful woman, my wife, and she could have been with anybody, And I said to her, I looked across from her and I go, look, you're a beautiful woman. I go, you're smart. You could be with anybody. You could be a doctor, lawyer, you're going to be successful yourself. I said, you just need to know that I'm doing this shit. So I could be, and I'm like 24 when I'm looking her in the eyes telling her this. Okay. I go, I'm glad I had the foresight to, but I was like, look, I can be broke in my 30s or 40s, or I could be well off in my 30s and 40s, but I'm doing this. So you need to talk to whoever it is you need to talk to, your mother, your family. This is what I'm doing. And listen, I'm into you. I want to make this work, but like, this is what and she did that. She talked to her mother. And I think my mother-in-law was like, that's a hard road. Almost can't blame her like from being like, we could go a little safer.
Yeah.
But no, and then she's like, I want to do it. I'm in. And so it's kind of cool to still be with my wife and have these 2 kids and kind of be moving up in the business that way. That said, does she want to kill me still all the time? Yes.
Good.
Good.
That's a good woman.
Yeah, like she doesn't care. I'll tell you a funny story. I was actually... who was it? Me, a couple of us were opening for Burr at Madison Square Garden. Okay. And I got the call like, he wants you at the Garden with him and this and that. And it's a big thing. And he called me too. And I'm on stage at the Garden, and my buddy is to the stage, off the stage watching, and he's standing next to my wife, and he looks over at my wife's face and he goes, I guess he doesn't have any chores this week. I guess he doesn't have to do the dishes. And my wife goes, why? This is what the fuck he's supposed to be doing. Like that's her thing.
The conversation we had when he was 24, he's still washing dishes.
Yeah, like her whole thing was like, no. So as much as she was supportive, as supportive as she was like, no, like not being like a bitch or anything, but like I expect it. Like, yeah, so he's going to do this, and this is fantastic, but he's going to go home, and he's going to take the garbage out.
She probably saw something in you. I mean, I imagine you were doing comedy at the time when you guys met. Did she see
Yes,
at that time?
yes.
So she could see the elements and the specialness of your stand-up. Because you have a very, as much so is, it's a very New York style. Your jokes are very solid. Like, they're real thoughtful.
Thank you.
So my assumption is, I don't know how you were at 24, but you probably had the same cadence and the same style. And so she probably saw that and knew, you know what, I think he might be onto something. So
yeah, well, I appreciate that, and maybe so. Like I didn't have a voice, You know, and there's all kinds of fake defense mechanisms when you start. When I first started, I had this angry, what's the deal with this? And people were like, yeah, that's funny, but dude, that's not you. You're like an easygoing, nice guy. But it was just a defense thing, you know, until you eventually find your voice. You know, it's funny though. I love traveling the country now because like I remember one agent told my first manager I got when I was dude by the name of Tony Camacho. And he was my first manager ever. And, you know, he called up bookers for me. I'm like 6 years in. And one guy goes, I know that guy. That guy's a little too New York for me, right? And I'm like 6. So now that same guy, like, loves me, knows me. And, like, unbeknownst to before, like, I'm everywhere now. So I always wanted to make sure that even though, of course, I sound like an East Coast guy, because I am, always, like, I'm just going to bring whatever my thoughts are everywhere. And when I learned that, things got easier. Like, I don't care if I'm in Dallas. I don't care if I'm in Florida. I don't care if I'm in Vegas or anywhere. I'm going to bring my thoughts and my brand of humor to the stage, and the fans that want to be my fans, great. But, and the ones that don't, fine. But, yeah, you made a good point early on, Sean. Like when I was saying that things get put into perspective and you don't want to be on that hamster wheel. I got to a place finally after nobody fucking wanted me. Nobody wanted me, you know, and I remember, man, my mentor, Bill Burr, and other guys would go, a guy like you, Paul, just has to get so undeniable. They can't say no to you. Right. And that was a good thing. So, like, not getting things early, not getting the Montreal Comedy Festival the first year I auditioned, it took like a few years to audition. That was good for me. Right. That was good, man, because then I'm like, okay. Like now I got it. Now you got to dig
challenges.
Hey, yeah,
you're talking about the Montreal and all these other things about them being like these pinnacle moments in your early career where it gave you like, I guess you could say where you felt like you were accepted or the things. Yeah. And once you did them, you realize it wasn't as big a deal as maybe you might have hyped them up to.
Yeah.
So as far as like what is the thing that is going to be the piece that you realize, oh man, this is my next big goal. Like, obviously you got the new special coming out.
Yeah.
You got your past one. You got the podcast that's doing really well.
Yeah.
So what is the next piece of the puzzle where you're going, hey, this is what I'm trying to achieve? I think you mentioned the acting that you did. You did that role with the Pete Davidson movie.
Yeah. So I think like for me, it's funny. I was talking about this last night with the comics that I'm working with, and it's so fun too. But it was just like, you got to have like short-term and long-term goals, right. You know? So yeah, so like acting, because I really enjoyed doing that. But like acting the way that I want to do it. Right? Like I'm not going to wait on lines with like 40 actors for the same part and like try to like act. I'm a comedian. But getting acting roles as a comedian is definitely something. And just putting out, like honestly, putting out better and better stuff each time. Right. And get better. So then when the people come and they're like, you know, I just want to be a master of this at some point, you know?
So when it comes to acting, obviously you got yourself as your style. When it comes to, do you do characters? Do you think that you could pull off like a British dude, or what are you working on any of that? Have you thought about that? Because they're going to sometimes pop up with these characters. You got to come in. What's one of the accents? What are you working on?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Like when I did King of Staten Island, I was a Staten Island fireman.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
So yeah, I was actually playing Pete's dad. So no, like that's all gonna be new stuff. And like, I want to do it. Like I want to build up to stuff like that to where if they do say, hey, Paul, there is this part, but you know, you got to play
a drag queen or something.
You got to do something a little different. And like, obviously I want to get things under my belt first.
Okay.
I don't want my first role to I'm wearing fish.
Wait, I'm a hooker?
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, like I'm a British trans hooker in fishnet. Don't get me wrong, I'll try it.
Hey, listen, I can walk on heels. I've tried it twice.
Listen, I may break character. I'll try it. But
have you thought about taking any classes? Like, is there something that you should be doing to get more of those? Or is it just, I mean, obviously with the comedy world and having so many friends that are comedians, because it's not like you're playing with little kid comics. You know, you're not in, Iowa. You're in New York. You're playing with the big boys, and you're respected. You know, I was talking to some comedians earlier about you. And so that opens up doors that other people don't get. So good opportunities. But like, what are you going to do to make yourself more of a valuable source for that? Because it seems like you really like the acting element. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, you know, that's actually a good question. I think that the Staten Island movie gave me a bug,
right?
To where I'm going like, all right, man, like that was like, yes, it was scary and exciting, but it was kind of fun, and I kind of enjoyed even some sketches that I've done, like on like Funny or Die or things like that. When I really get out of myself, it is fun. So I guess to answer your question as far as what I'm gonna do, I think I'm just gonna, I think the first thing that we're gonna do, like right now, my number one thing, like I'm very big on like knocking down things that are on the list, and it's the next special.
Right.
So we are on the cusp right now, literally like at the goal line of making the announcement and finalizing it, and we're gonna just get that done. Once that's done and I'm locked and loaded and I know where I'm shooting at and when, that's when we're gonna go, all right, let's talk about developing a TV show. Yeah. Let's talk about some acting parts, and let's do that. I think pandemic was a good way to like not so much hit a reset button, but a way to like be like, I can actually sit back now. I don't have to be at the airport tomorrow. I don't have to do, well, now I have to, but like during that time I was able to go, let's like really look at like the game plan on a whiteboard.
Yeah, I can see that.
What I mean?
Yeah, because the people I've talked to in the industry, it's like the whole industry as a whole has just stopped. Production, all these things. Yeah. I'm really excited. I was just talking to my fiance a couple days ago regarding music, and listening to the radio. She's like, "What do you want to listen to?" And I'm like, honestly, I'm bored with music right now. It just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of new stuff coming out. And my assumption is everybody's been writing. They're about to go hit the studio, and much like the comics have been writing and kind of writing the sketches and TV shows and things that they didn't have time for.
Yes.
But when you have 3, 6, 9, 12 months off, it's like, how many days can you possibly go, well, I'll do it tomorrow? Eventually you got to go, all right. I guess I'll get on my fine writing sweats, and I'll get to this script I've been thinking about for 5 years. So I'm expecting a boom as far as comedy material, as far as sketches and movies, and especially, gosh, I hope there's music. That's something fresh to come out. But, I think it is with the pandemic, it has allowed a lot of people to just kind of realize that they life is short.
Yeah.
And how can we focus on reaching those goals? So keep pushing on it. I'm really looking forward. I'm going to go see you tomorrow night with your new hour of material.
Yeah,
But as far as okay, so after here, you got dates lined up. Where are you headed to next?
So after this, we got dates that are coming in, but I will be, next month, I will be at Side Splitters in Tampa. Okay. June, I will be back in Texas in Austin. I'm doing the Vulcan Gas Company. I'm doing that.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah,
place.
I'm doing that on June 11th and 12th. Then at the end of June 25th, 26th, I'll be at Wise Guys in Salt Lake City. I have the Wilbur Theater lined up.
Now, is the Wise Guys, is that the Clean Comedy Club up there? Or is that, because I know that they got that Salt Lake City, like, Clean Comedy Club.
I think he's got 3 locations. Okay. I do the one that's like in like down, like Salt Lake City. Okay. And that's just regular, straight up, like what I'm doing now. Nice. You know what I mean? So, and great club, great room, great people run that. So, and more dates are coming in. Also, I'm going to be doing my first theater gig this year at the Wilbur Theater in Boston.
Very cool.
Might shoot the special there. Don't know yet, but so that's all going on. So now that things are opening up, man, but you just touched on something. It's like, people were dying, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people died.
Real people died.
Like people died. Friends that you knew had family members that died, and all this shit. And it's like 2 things. One, you can't be an asshole after this. If you're an asshole after this, then you're a born asshole that you just suck at life. Like you just suck. Right. I think the perspective now is like you said, man, life is short. You don't know if another pandemic is going to come. I'm sure people listening to this podcast know of somebody that died from COVID. I know that I do. And it's like, so it's just like, yeah, man, get it done now. Yeah. Like if this was ever a kick in the ass to go, you know what? Like that party that we were having that wasn't stopping, it got, it's like the cops came in and the music went, yeah, right? Like people were doing keg stands and people were smoking, and all of a sudden, like reality struck. The neighbors call the cops and everybody's, going, what happened? That's kind of what happened on life, and the smart people will use that.
Right. It's good springboard, and
yes.
It holds. There's a level of accountability to yourself where you can look. I was of course, like through every medium, there's people that life was normal, healthy.
Yeah.
They passed from this, and they had goals. They had things they want to do, and they might have been pushing those things off like the rest of us. And it's important to for your kids' sake, for you to leave that legacy, for your wife to know that you were pushing to the end, and we hope we all live to be 200 years old. But you never know, and that's it's a good perspective to treat today like it might be the last, because you want to try your hardest, you know, and be the best person you can. And with your world, you're I assume, especially living up in New York, it's allotted you a perspective that a lot of people haven't. I mean, especially here in Texas. I mean, we're like a whole bunch of rednecks, cowboys running around with, you know, masks. We don't wear masks around here. And here it is, New York. You know, it's everybody, their dog has it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you had it early on, right?
Yeah, me and my whole family had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, good news. Everybody's great and healthy after that. You know,
thank God.
good part about that is you're one of the early comics to kind of get back out on the road.
That's right.
That's a huge benefit.
It was huge. It was huge. Like when I found out that I had antibodies in early April of last year, I called my agent.
That is really early in the game.
Oh, dude, like I always joke. I said I got COVID like the day, like I got COVID like I was waiting for an album to drop. Like I was online at midnight. Like I was online at midnight to like get the drop of like the new like PS5 or Xbox is coming out, and I'm online at GameStop. Like I got COVID then. And then all of a sudden, my wife was, you know, my kids were sluggish a couple of days. So when I found out that I, you know, ultimately had it and thank God was able to beat it early. I mean, when I had it, they didn't know that smell and taste was a symptom.
Yeah, did you lose your smell and taste?
I did. And the reason I found out about it, I talked about it on stage last night. The reason I found out about it was because the center for the Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert, when he first got it, when he tweeted, because he was the one that touched the mics and he got
coughing on it, sneezing, just for shits and giggles. And then he gets everybody sick.
And then he got everybody sick. So I was like starting to feel shitty. And I'm like, there's no way I have this like week
What's
one.
the chance?
Yeah, and we had just gone out. We like the last weekend restaurants were open. We went out for my wife's birthday, this Mexican restaurant. It's kind of busy. I'm like, there's no way. We're in upstate New York. We haven't been near the city. I'm like, I did do a show like 2 weeks ago, but I was like, there's no way. And you know, hospitals are filling up. And I'm going, and then people are getting on ventilators. And I just got the chills one night, and I'm like, you know what, let me just stay in the guest room just in case. And then I would be in the guest room. I'd cough at night a lot, and I would look at my phone, and I saw Rudy Gobert tweet, and he goes, just want to thank everybody for the support. He goes, I'm doing okay, but have lost smell and taste. Has anybody been dealing with that? I lost smell and taste the last 4 days. So I go downstairs and I fucking start spraying Febreze in my face. I swear to God. I went in our laundry room and I'm spraying Febreze in my face. And I fucking 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake my wife up. I go, babe, you got to come out here. She goes, what? I go, I can't smell anything. And it wasn't a symptom yet. So she goes, what? And I go, I can't smell anything. And the center of the Utah Jazz just said that he can't smell anything and it's a symptom. She goes, you fucking woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Dr. Jazz over here?
Yeah, like you have a cold, dick. I'm trying to sleep. I'm dealing with the kids. And sure enough, I had it. But then I called my agent at William Morris and I said, hey, man, I'm ready to go. Because and I told my manager. So then, boom, that June, Arizona. So I was like a handful of comics. Maybe I would say 10 that were like doing rooms like half capacity. People were still scared. They were cautious, though. It was temperature checks at the door, the whole deal I'm sure you guys went through. I was doing that, but like I was able to work. So like bookers and people would come up going, man, you're fresh right now. Like normally people would be rusty.
Really? They get rusty when they don't do it for a while?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was able, and the blessing was, Sean, that the hour got better. We were ready to go almost before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
We like wanted to start shopping it and talking before the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit and it's all on hold. But the beauty of it, I guess I should say the blessing of it, if there is a silver lining, is oh shit, the hour's getting better. Oh my God, that joke didn't even have close to those tags before. So, and then that was just, build the studio in the house, built the podcast studio. Right. That's why anytime I see a fat comic now that wasn't fat, I'm going, you didn't work. You put your feet up. Here's what you did. You subscribed to not only Netflix, but you got the Hulu, the Amazon. You were watching.
Why do you feel like you're shaming me right now? I was 93 pounds before the pandemic. So did you get a lot of stigma from other comedians or people because you are on the road? I mean, I saw my side was, man, the hate mail we got as a club because we were even opening when this was going on, even with all the precautions and separating everybody. And putting up walls between everybody and everything we did, it was still a pile of people that were just full of, rightfully so, concern. Did you get a lot of slack or hack from that kind of crap?
I think that, I don't know if I would say rightfully so. I think concerned is rightfully so. But I think there were some people that were just evil dickheads and people who were jealous. And I think there's a lot of people that don't understand that bills need to be paid. So, let me find out somebody's situation first and financial situation. So I heard, nobody said anything to me, but I heard that there were like tweets and there were social media things of a group of comics making comments as though, hey, comedians, all you people that are going out there, we see you and we know what you're doing and don't think. Meanwhile, and nobody personally, so to answer your question, nobody personally went at me.
Okay.
But there were, like I heard like, oh, this one comic, she was saying things like, oh, we see the comics that are going out while they're doing it. Meanwhile, it's like, these are comics that nobody's trying to book right now. Right. And so I'm sure that there's a jealousy thing. And also it's like, you don't know that I had antibodies. I had the disease. I mean, I had the virus. So I fought it off. I found out, I checked my blood. My blood said I had reactive antibodies and I'm still being safe. And I'm going to a club that's taking precaution. I'm not doing meet and greets. You didn't see me doing stupid shit. Right. You didn't see me hugging on, licking somebody's ear in a picture. Yeah. You know, so
I got Photoshop. I can make this happen.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I'm sure people were saying like, "Wow, these guys shouldn't be doing that," but they just didn't know.
Yeah, and I found with our clubs that a lot of the comics who typically would do the big Verizon centers and the big House of Blues, because the bigger venues were shut down, they went back into the smaller circuits. And talking with them, they were like, "Man, it's really nice to be back in the intimate environments." Yeah. With you, and now you got your theater gig coming out. How big is this theater that you're gonna be hitting?
So the theater is just under like 1,000 people. I think it's like 900 and something. And I was supposed to do it March of last year.
What? They pushed it back?
They pushed it back. Yeah. It's like, like the day of the lockdown. It's like, couldn't we just fit this in? We'll get one more pack of people sick.
Come on.
Yeah. So
I got jokes. I got to tell some people.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It was June 27th.
Oh, okay.
Then it got moved to this March.
Okay.
And then now it's moved to October.
Okay.
So it's basically like, it's like an 18-month total thing. But I'd rather do like my first theater gig, because I sold a bunch of tickets at the Comedy Club in Boston, and New England area started to really come out for me and stuff, and the New York area and stuff. So I didn't want to do my first theater gig like when they were like, "Hey, Paul, we're still going to do it, but it's 25%."
Yeah.
Almost like at that point,
everybody's
it's like
wearing masks, they're separated.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to feel like my first theater gig.
Do you feel like the two-question part? Do you feel like when it comes to comedy, my thoughts are always I try to put as many people up close as possible. Obviously, pandemic's kind of changed the mojo of it, but I always felt like comedy was contagious. So like when the front row laughs, it almost kind of makes it big. Like I could take 40 people and spread them across the showroom, and your show would not be as full of laughter as when I shoved 40 people up close to each other. Do you feel like that's a piece of the puzzle with all the spacing, with all these 25% venues and such? Do you feel it's harder for people to laugh?
I feel like it's continuously getting better, but from what I've found as somebody that was out there more than most, is the people that did come wanted to laugh.
That's true.
That's what I found.
They're willing to risk their life for your knock-knock jokes. I mean, how exciting is that?
Yes, we're all going to die because you wanted to hear me tell a dick joke in a strip mall. And, so, yeah, no, it's I saw people just going like, this was so good to get back.
Right.
It was so good. Like there was a relief, because I think that there was a lot of mental illness going on. I think there was a reason why suicides were up. There was a reason why drug use and alcohol, and it is kind of shitty. I know people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but do you notice that like when they said there were places in New York, I don't know how it was in Texas. You guys were probably open day 2.
Day 2.
But like
maybe day 3.
We had the liquor stores open with the essential thing.
Oh yeah,
And I'm going like, you guys probably had the gun store and you guys.
Hey, we gotta have our guns.
Listen, I got a cough. At least get my gun.
We're telling shut down. I can need more bullets. So same thing up there. The liquor stores.
The liquor stores were, and I kind of was just going like, I don't know if this is the best time for somebody that probably lost their company, could have lost somebody to be boozed, but I think that people had this like sense of relief, because there were some clubs I did in some rooms where I was like, comedy is either I forget how great it is, which I don't think I did, or like these people were like, thank you.
Yeah.
They got out of a prison cell, man.
It was interesting when I was talking to the staff, the waiters and servers and such. They were talking about how much better tips they got. Like the people,
Yes.
the people hadn't gone out in a while, so they just had been stockpiling this money. But you know, when they got out, they were giving way more than they typically would. So the servers, it was kind of funny because it was this like juggling where, you know, when everybody was getting the extra money for unemployment, you know, it's really hard for me to find servers. You know, once that stopped, everybody's like, hey, I think I'm not scared anymore. I want to come back and wait some time. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. But when they did come and work, they were making tons more money. And yeah, I would agree. The audiences were like ecstatic. Like there's this ants, almost kind of like the Star Wars movies finally come out. You know, and you're like, oh, you know, they would dress in character. I would see him as you know, Eddie Murphy raw. That's not true at all.
I'm just picturing somebody like shaving their head and putting a gold chain over a black sweater, and then just playing me.
Yeah. We got Carrot Top. We just got them all, man. Some guy's carrying a watermelon and a baseball bat. Oh, okay, I see it now.
It's amazing though what people are doing. I had a couple last night that were at the show in Addison last night. They flew in from Ohio to see me.
No kidding.
They flew in from Ohio to see me. It was funny though because at first I didn't realize they flew. So they're like, dude, we came all the way from Ohio, and I'm like this and that. At the end, I go, man, thanks for driving. He was like, no, I mean we didn't drive. It's like,
I know we're from Ohio.
Listen,
we might think we're poor, but they have planes and airports there.
He's like, I like you, Paul, but I don't like drive from Ohio
have
like
you. Seen my wife? You think I'm gonna be in a car with her for 13 hours? Okay, so as far as the big venues, do you find this is maybe a loaded question because you haven't been there per se, because you did the Madison Square Garden and all these big ones, but do you feel like the material you would do in a comedy club you can't do in the big venue? What I've heard in this, it's like you have to be bringing your A game. B is you have to make sure all the jokes are over the top. You know, it's just. Do you feel like you have to adapt or modify your material for a big venue like that?
I think depending on the bit, and what the joke is and where you want to ultimately get to. I actually did some jokes at Madison Square Garden. I thought I would maybe only do in a club, but I just committed. Once I had them, I committed. But yeah, I think when you do have that extra second or two delay, because it's, you know, did you ever hear that story about Brian Regan at where the Florida Gators play?
No.
So the Florida Gators play in front of 100,000 people, and they would do something every year. They would do an event every year where they filled it with 100,000 people, and a comic would go up.
God, that sounds terrible.
And Regan goes up and does it and says a joke, and apparently from what I heard, what the story was told to me, is that for like 2 seconds he hears nothing, and he's going, oh my God, I bombed, and then all of a sudden it was... So in a theater, it's obviously not that long. It's maybe a beat or two different. But once you get that rhythm down, you can do the same. You can do the same stuff and like just do it. Now, obviously, you're not going to do crowd work. Although one time I did crowd work in a theater, and Bartnick and Burr were next to each other, and Burr leans over to Bartnick and goes, is fucking Verzi doing crowd work in fucking 3,000 people? And Bartnick just goes, Verzi does that sometimes, you know? So, but like, yeah, I'm a moody comic. So depending on my mood, I'll just go like whatever I'm feeling at that minute. But if I am in a big venue, I want to make sure that like I have it layered the way that I want. And then the play around with something will be either extra or it's like a feel.
I know you do a lot of your material and you work on your material constantly, even on stage. Because you said you don't do open mics. So your open mic is essentially real shows where you kind of goof around. On those type of venues, are you goofing at all? Or are you just sticking to just like the real stuff? I mean, have you ever, I'll put it this way, have you ever written a joke while standing in front of 1,000 or 3,000 people?
I'll tell you a story. I will tell you a story because I made, when I first started doing theaters with Burr, this was pre when he did Carnegie Hall, but he would have me start doing venues with him 900, 800, and I started to really get acclimated, and I started to get kind of good at it, and it was great for me growing as a comic. And then we do the Count Basie Theater in Jersey, famous place, right? And we go and I'm on stage, and I was just like, I'm about to bring him up, and I'm having a good set, and then like a dick, I decide to basically try a new joke in the theater. And this is like before I was like doing it.
And you're closing with a new bit. Is that what I'm gathering?
I'm kind of towards the end.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going and maybe forget the end because I'm on stage and I go, yeah, I was watching that show. What did I say? Was that show Fatal Attractions with these people that have like fucking bears for pets and cats, and they would show the two scenarios. One, a lady lives with a lion and it worked out. And the other one
And it worked out.
and it worked out. Another one was it didn't work out in the end, and the lion did what cats do and wild cats do and everything. So this one woman was like starting to feed bears. She was feeding bears, and then all of a sudden a bunch of bears came out, and like she called them my babies and this and that.
Sure.
And they basically ripped her apart and killed her. So then I was like, then her friend was like, but we know she's up there in heaven with her babies right now. And I'm going, do you think she's sitting up there going, just so we're clear, which one of you ripped my asshole out and did it, right? And I just started, but I didn't have it ready. And like the crowd, it went from a laugh to like, and I'm going, oh no, dude. And then I'm like, wait, what was that one joke I was going to do? And I lost my place. And then I remember like trying to go, should I bring Bill out? I don't know if you guys are ready. Like just doing all the tricks, you know?
So anyways, the fish just flew in.
And one guy was like, we're ready. And
You
Bill,
can hear it in the back.
And Bill, no, he was like in the front. He goes, we're ready. And I bring Bill out. And me and Bill are driving to the hotel where Bill was staying in the city. And we just start laughing. And he goes, dude, you turned the Count Basie Theater into 1 o'clock in the morning at the comic strip, just working shit out. Like he's like, it's already hilarious. So you obviously, and then honestly, like that's like the one thing that I remember because it was just such an amazing tour. And when we do theaters, it would be amazing. But I learned from that. So you do have to be precise and stuff like that. But no, but what I did there was stupid. I didn't even have the joke ready.
Right.
So if the joke was ready, I
You
might
must have been having a good set, feeling
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I can't lose. I lost.
Yeah. And then you just do that shit. You're like, whatever. So, but yeah, I've always had a knack for trying shit out in places that maybe somebody wouldn't. And I love that fear and I love that feeling. Last night I did an hour and 15 minutes because there was no second show last night here. And it was just such an amazing time. And I just decided to talk, man. And I talked about a buddy of mine who was murdered. And I wanted to make it funny because it was, a friend of mine, well, I'll tell you the story.
I like how you're smirking as you start this.
No,
story.
because this
tragically died.
So it was. So last night there was just amazing. They were like my fans were there, and people, like I said, flew in, and it was just really nice. And I was like, you know what, I'm at an hour right now, but let's, they were like just, the Jeff Sewell's girl, all that, like they're just like,
peaches, keep going, mama.
Mamma mia. So all this stuff, and I'm like, let me just go out there and have fun. And so something tragic happened. A friend of mine was, like over a year ago. He was my comedy manager for 4 years, and he was part owner of The Stand in New York City. And
yes, I did hear.
He and his nanny were tragically murdered in his home.
Home burglary, right?
And no, it was actually the nanny's boyfriend. She was trying to break up with some. It was brutal. Oh. And I'm like, when that happened, it just like I got sick, and I was just like in this really bad funk for like a week. And I go down to the city, and with my wife, and I just popped into New York Comedy Club, and somebody goes, hey man, if you want to go in on my show, you're more than welcome to go on my show anytime. I'll give you 6 minutes. And I go, and I found something funny with this where I go, oh man, I go, thanks. I go, I appreciate that, man. I just want to get on stage again. I said, I'm kind of having a rough week. And he goes, if you don't mind, what happened? And I go, my buddy and his nanny for his kids were stabbed to death and murdered in his home. And the guy just goes, been there. And I'm going,
no.
What? like, but it made me feel. First of all, hold on a second. First of all,
like
it was getting.
Were you the suspect?
It was like a traffic ticket. Yeah. Like, been there. What was it, that speed trap on Fifth Avenue? Like, been there. And I'm thinking to myself two things. One, how often is this happening? Yeah. And two, I was just like, I'm going, are you trying to outdo my tragic story? Like, are you trying to one-up can I have this fucking...
You're my ex-girlfriend? What's going on right now?
And you know what? And I know David would love the joke, rest in peace, but I know that he would kind of love finding the humor there. And I was just on stage and I did that. And like, it got this like really, like it hit. And I'm like, so I get into moods like that where it's like, you know what, man, if I'm out and I'm having fun and my crowd is there and, I know it's pandemic and people are starting to come back and more people are starting to hear about me and know about me. I'm going to give you everything. Like, that's the thing. It's like, and when I found out that I did an hour and 15 and those people flew from Ohio, it's like, that's what I want to do. Right. And I'm not up there bullshitting either. No. Like, I don't want any down.
As
as they say, you're not pancaking, I think is what Mitch Hedberg called it.
Yeah, I'm not. When I'm up there for that time, I'm not like trying to stay up longer with lulls. I want to kill. Like, I mean, obviously there are stories and stuff, but I love writing like that on stage because that's true. That's a true crowd. Because if that fell flat last night, I'd go, okay, like this was my fans and this was a lot of things. But like I wanted to see how it went, and it went, really well. I like to do that.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about comedy clubs. So without talking about specific comedy club that you love the most, which, it's one of the various, and all of the above, just move your lips and I'll put the city you're going up to there. But which one have you found that has the best food? Because I heard you were running around getting Jimmy John's last time you were here. So I'm not going to put the Addison one on your top of the list.
I've done 2 Jimmy John's already.
Oh,
I did one too.
I had Jimmy John's today. It was great.
I got the sandwich at Jimmy John. But the funny thing was the guy wasn't that nice, so I felt pressure. He was like, "No, I'm just saying back what you said," and I'm going like, "Are you mad at me? Like, can I order?"
I'm sorry, I came in to order food at your place.
Yeah, I go. No, I wanted wheat bread, and he just was like, and I was just like, but anyway, I would say, the Stand in New York City is like a 5-star restaurant.
Is it really?
So it's like they have like a whole thing. There's a lot of, I have to say the olive tree above the Comedy Cellar has great wings. So like there are certain places. As far as out of New York, Hilarities. And Cleveland has great food. Not gonna lie, I had a grilled chicken Caesar salad last night at Addison, and I was like, "This does not taste like a comedy club salad."
Yeah, we make our own Caesar. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna. Do you?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is because it's funny you said that because I was the chicken was nice and the dressing was good.
I got the finest Italians from Mexico.
Well, you guys could have thrown some anchovies in there.
That's probably true. Honestly, we probably could. I've never seen them on the short list of stuff we've ordered, so probably
let's be honest, anchovies at a comedy club, even if they're ordered from a perfect place, that's a tough sell.
I'm gonna put it on there. It's gonna be on the menu next time you come. Would you like an appetizer with anchovies? You could be like,
just call it the Verzi Caesar.
The Verzi Caesar.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as the comedians, so what is some of the green room rules that comedians need to be aware of? So I'll give you a for instance. Comics, they tend to dwell in the green room when it's not their green room. But what kind of things do you see with like the up and coming comics or the features of people who aren't your buddy, obviously your buddy that goes on the road with you or something, a little bit different, but what do you see from comedians that you're like, man, don't do that?
I've been fortunate enough to where I haven't really like felt that where I'm like, dude, you can't do that. The only thing I would say is, people have been respectful, but if it's not your show, like if you were on the show before and you're filling up the green room, that would be one thing where I would just like the management to be like and here's the other thing, I'll still say hi and be cool with everybody.
Right.
But like if I come in, let's say my show's at 10 o'clock and there was a self-produced show at like 8. Right. And people are like lingering around. I have no problem saying hi, what's going on? But then it's like, all right, now I want to just be in my green room. I never would tell. Like last night, Gretchen was like sitting away from the green room. And then Mike came in and I was talking to Jeff and I go, well, where's the host? And they were like, oh, she wants to be respectful of the green room. And I go, well, no, get her in here.
Yeah, she listens.
And I was like, well, get her in here because like it's her green room too. So I look at it like that. I just don't like I don't like dick energy. I don't like when people are, there's certain things like that. No. So listen, I'm very big on treat people the way that you want to be treated. And as long as that's going on, I'm good.
That's good. Okay. So as far as when you first got started, I think I posed the question on you a couple days ago, but the question is, do you remember the first joke that you got laughs and it worked?
The first joke that I ever told that got laughs. Man, I don't know if I remember the first joke. I kind of remember my first opener that like worked in comedy clubs, like the very first opener I remember. Okay. Yeah, and it was just about breaking up with a girl, and then like I take it on a silly like twist. I mean, it's not a very good joke, but it's a long, long time ago.
But it worked.
And
when was the moment that you realized, damn it, I have a chance at this?
That's a great question. I was at New York Comedy Club one night doing like their new talent showcase, And I remember somebody walking out. I remember these two guys walking out going, dude, that was fantastic. And one guy goes, this kid's just got it. And that always stuck with me. It stuck with me because I was new, but I knew that I was on to something as a new guy. I knew that, listen, I don't want to sound arrogant here at all.
No, you can be arrogant as you
want. No, I don't want to. Plus, I got a show soon. You never want to be arrogant and then go eat a dick sandwich.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but I remember like just there were times when I would go and do it, and it got to the point where like multiple times in a row I'm going like I feel like my punch is hitting differently than what I'm seeing. I had no real comedic skills. I was just funny because I always tell people there's a difference between being funny and being a good comedian.
Very true.
Being funny and being a good comedian is two different worlds.
And I've seen the funniest people never good on stage.
My uncle's fucking funny.
Yeah.
You know, I got a funny uncle. I got funny family members.
I've seen the opposite, where I've seen a comedian that's hilarious on stage, and you get him off stage, and he's just quiet, never makes anybody laugh, but then he gets up there, and he's just a different human.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that like knowing that my bits were like really making people laugh, even when I wasn't good. So then it was like, oh, what's going to happen if I could get good? If that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did pose some questions on the internet. I did have some people ask some stuff. So one of the questions was regarding how sensitive people have become in the last few years. Or, you know, the hashtag #MeToos and all this. A lot of comedians have felt like maybe satire is going away or it's difficult. Do you find yourself concerned about that? Do you think that it's going to come back? Do you feel like that everybody's like, I've heard jokes before where you do and you get this, oh, and you're like, that is not worthy.
Yeah.
That should have been a laugh. Are you concerned at all about the future of stand-up comedy?
No, because I think that if enough comedians don't apologize and they stick to the joke, you know, like right now, I was at the stand the other night, last Friday night, a week ago today. I was at the stand and I did my WNBA joke, and there was some dude in the crowd and he just goes, misogynist, when it was done. And I was like, and I said to the crowd, I go, fuck you. If you don't like that, that's a funny and it's true and it's how I feel. And it's really how I feel.
Right.
So I think that as long as you say what you feel,
right,
and you could stand by it,
right,
you don't go up there and just say some shock value shit just to get it. That's stupid. I stand behind my jokes. I stand behind my stories. They're layered. They're true. Right. And yeah, I'll throw in a joke here or there. And if you can't take it like that because I hit a trigger word or I said something, that's really on you, man. So like, I know that I don't need to apologize because I've already thought it out. I've already defended it. You know, the late, great Patrice O'Neill, I believe it was Patrice, rest his soul, said something like, just make sure when you're on stage you mean it. Because if you mean it, you could defend it. Right. And if you can defend, so if somebody came up to me, you know, I'm doing a joke about a special needs movie theater right now. That it's in my area. Everybody who works at this movie, all they employ is people with Down syndrome, head injuries, wheelchairs. That's all the employees. And I'm doing a joke about it. And a woman came up to me after the show and she goes, you know, my son has Down syndrome. She showed me a picture of him and she goes, and I love that joke. Oh. She goes, it's a great joke and it's funny and it's actually kind. If you listen to the joke the right way, it's actually kind and more kind to the people that are special needs as opposed to the regular employees.
Right.
So that's what the joke is.
And isn't that kind of the objective of a comedian, is to alter someone's point of view? Like
100%. And you take them down a road where they go, oh, I thought you meant that. But I go, no, if you really think about the joke, what I'm saying is opposite. And it's a really funny joke. So it's one of those things where I can defend that joke to somebody who has a problem. Not that I have to, nor will I, but I can say like, no, this is you. So I said every comedy club should have a fucking disclaimer from the top of the wall to the bottom. And you're supposed to take out your cell phone and take a picture of that disclaimer.
Next to it going, I agree.
Yes, and all that thing says is you're going to hear drugs and disease and murder and death and all these different things.
And I'm not going to kick you out because you were laughing.
Yes, exactly.
I was just watching the show and laughing. And
that'd be a great way to end the disclaimer. And we're fine with laughter. You know, like, so, yeah. By the way, one thing I wanted to say on this was rest in peace to Carla Boef, who I just saw that. I just saw that about a hour ago. Had some really wild moments with him. Was driving in the car. He told me about the Sam Kinison thing with his daughter. You know, finding out that that his daughter he was raising Sam Kinison's daughter or something like that because I guess Sam Kinison was the father, and for years he didn't know. So he told me that story on the way to a gig, and I was just like driving like, what? Wow. He literally dropped that on me. He's like, yeah, like 13 years old, and I found out that my best friend did that. Make a left, and I was like, wait, what the fuck just?
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I was just like
no.
Yeah, and we did that, and then he was with me for a great gig, and then he was with me one time, the same booker for the first time I walked off stage. I walked out, because it was like a nightmare gig, and like I threw all my bullets at him. I was done, and we drove, and we had a good talk. So hearing that news, and then years later, he saw me open for Bill in the round in Cape Cod and came backstage and talked to us. So rest in peace to a really, really nice person, a great comedian, and just a nice guy. What a life he lived, and a pro and a great. So.
Extremely well respected amongst the comedians. It's everybody's been popping on. I've been seeing it all over the Facebook, and everybody's been just saying nothing but kind words about him.
Yeah,
I've never personally met him, but I did hear very nice things about him. So, okay, so jumping over to somebody. Some Bobby Kelly guy had a question for you. So his was
Bobby.
With a gun to your head, would you rather be in a cage with a lion or a kimono dragon?
Dude, this is what you ask him, okay? Listen, dude, fuck a lion. Okay, I'll take the...
I would say I would rather... Wow, man, that's a great question. Love Bobby. Me and Bobby talk about these animal scenarios a lot. And it's really funny. So... You know what a Komodo dragon does to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They'll poison you and then start eating you while you're still alive and paralyzed, which is really brutal. I think I would rather be in with the lion. And the reason I say
because you're going to lose either way.
Right. And I think there's some chance you can go that I get him under the neck. Like there's some chance where I find a spot. He goes like this, and like we could cuddle, and maybe he's like, I don't want to eat this guy.
I don't like the flavor of this one. There's this little chance. Komodo dragon. I'm gonna have to agree with you.
Komodo dragon is just they have that like reptile, no feeling.
Yeah.
Like put it this way, I had. 2 cats. I have one now. We had to put one down. It's a whole brutal story. But when you go like this to a cat, they do the A Komodo dragon's not going to be like, dude, that tickles.
I know where it does tickle, and you don't want to touch that.
Yes.
There's 2 reactions. One, they like you, and one, they really like you. Okay, so another question from Giannis Pappas. If you, apparently, he wanted to help your wife move a couch.
Oh, no.
And do you think that was insulting to a Greek?
Oh, my God. Yeah, what he's talking about. He really was hurt by that. So
this comes from a darker side. Okay.
He was really upset with that. So Giannis Pappas and I are like, he's one of my dearest friends. He lives in my neighborhood. He's like a neighbor, and he's one of my closest friends. We hang all the time. Okay. His family comes over to my house. I go over to his family's house all the time. Right. And I have a busted disc in my neck. So I'm about to, get an MRI, get the steroid shot, try to do all the things we could do without surgery. Right. So I couldn't lift a couch. And my wife is like, I need somebody to lift the couch. So I go, Giannis down the street. I'll call Giannis too. So I text Giannis in a panic because my wife had asked me for like that 9th time.
Yeah.
And when your wife asks and then finally you're just like, this is going to be a blow.
No, I'm just going to do it myself.
And she,
no.
And she fucking started to.
Oh, God.
My wife is one of those like tough, like German.
Stubborn. Stubborn is the word I like.
Swedish, Finnish. So she's got the Scandinavian and the thing. She'll just start lifting up a couch to spite me. And I'm like, I can't have my wife's back blow out because I'm a piece of shit. So this is my wife. You want to know my wife? We talked about this on Anything Better, so I don't mean to repeat myself. But one time, my wife is just, let's go. I go, babe. I go, Rome wasn't built in a day. And she goes, yeah, because I didn't fucking build it. Now let's go.
All right,
She's one of those. So I'm in a panic, and I text Giannis, and I go, dude, can you do me a favor? Can you help Stacy move a couch downstairs? I go, I'll throw you some money. And he goes, you know how fucking insulting that was? He goes, no, you see, he goes, that's borderline. I'm not going to forgive this. And like, then I saw him again. I'm like, listen, dude, I apologize. She just was going at me. I didn't know. And he goes, you Italians just are trying to always put cash in people's pockets. He goes, so
that's his follow-up question, but we'll get back.
Yeah.
So he was literally upset because you were trying to give him money or because you asked?
I think because I asked, and it
like
was,
you could pay him for it. Was that what it was?
You're gonna pay me for
you would have done it for free. It wasn't about moving a couch, right?
No, it was just one of those things where I was like, I just wanted a yes
from somebody quickly.
From somebody quickly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my wife off my ass.
Yeah.
That was the whole
Yeah.
thing. You know, I should have just said, Giannis, dude, I'll do whatever. You got to get Stacey's on me. So
Yeah.
that's
You
what
probably- that's what you should have
like,
said.
money, whatever it takes, and make it a joke. Instead, I go, I will pay you, and it just went south. So he's never gonna let me live it down. He's right. What can you do?
So, do you embrace your Greek side as much as your Italian side?
He knows I don't, and it drives him nuts. And here's the reason:
So, do you have Greek in you?
my mother's 100% Greek, and my father's 100% Sicilian.
Oh, wow. So,
My father pounded in our heads, Sicilian.
Yeah.
You're Italian. You come from me. I'm the father.
my fiance, she's Italian.
Yeah,
it's
Italian.
A lot of hand movements when she's talking.
Italians. My father told me that. My father legitimately told me Sicilian people are the greatest people on earth. You know, a little better than Northern Italy. They can't help it. That's just what it is. Like that's my father is, and then I'll ask for the reason. I can not try. You don't understand. We just it's like so. My father always told me and my brother that Sicilian's the best. Oh, he's Sicilian's loyal. It's the best. My mother, she rebelled against the Greek because my Greek grandmother pushed it so hard, and my mother is one of two girls, and my mom was the one that they went at. So my mom rebelled.
Okay.
My mom was the one to
That's
rebel.
why she went for the Italian stallion.
Maybe that's why she didn't marry a Greek.
That's,
This is a true story.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a true story. May both sides, all of my grandparents that have now passed, may they all rest in peace. But my mother's family goes to visit. I'm sorry, my father's Sicilian family goes to visit my mother's Greek family when they're getting serious and they're going to get married and everything. So now this is back then. This is when it's like, you know, you're in the early 70s, like, you know, your family goes to meet the family. This is going to be families that merge. Very, very hard for my Greek grandmother that my father wasn't Greek. That's a very big thing. Kind of like the way Jews like to stay with Jews and Greeks like to stay with Greeks. And like that's like a big thing, you know? So my father's family shows up to my Greek grandparents and my grandmother disappears, my Greek grandmother. And my mother looks for her and my mother finds her in a room crying because they were so Italian. And they were just like, she was like, I can't. Why couldn't you meet a Greek? You know, the Italians are all sitting there. They're probably hugging, kissing,
ring fingers. Yeah.
They probably looked like a mob family. Was
Really,
sitting
probably.
down.
Definitely.
Yeah, they probably can't. I promise they probably can. I don't know this for a fact, but I promise there was a bakery box. There was a box of
some kind of cannoli
there was
something that they.
Yeah, they came with something. There were gold was exposed.
Of course.
Pastries were out, and my Greek grandmother just couldn't handle it, and she saw that. But so I think though, because my mother and my Greek grandmother did that, my mother didn't push the Greek, whereas my father pushed the Greek. Giannis always talks shit like that. Giannis will text me out of nowhere and go, "Your mother's Greek." I'll just look at my phone. He goes, "You're a Greek kid." Do you know?
To remind you.
Yeah, you're a Greek kid. Yeah.
So what does your Thanksgivings look like? Because I've found that with the Italian father-in-law, he tends to bring an Italian dish for every Thanksgiving. So what is your Thanksgiving look like?
No, my parents are divorced.
Okay.
So when we see my dad, it's like private. It's like
Okay.
a separate thing. And my so it's more traditional. My wife's family and my family, it's just there's nobody brings the Italian dish. Although I wish they would.
I was about to say, man, I found it to be really delicious.
You're lucky. No, you're lucky.
I'm like, yeah, give me some turkey, but give me some meatballs.
Let me get a turkey with lasagna side. Yeah.
Put some marinara on my turkey. I don't need gravy. It's fucking delicious.
A new thing
This
here.
is good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, as far as the comedy career, we'll be wrapping up and getting out of here. But before I make you depart, you had talked about comedy schools when I had asked you about comedy. And you're not a big fan of taking comedy classes. Do you think that comedians might have an advantage to learning the point of view quicker? And my 2 cents from being in this business for like 20 years is there's people that have the natural talent. If you don't have it, you don't have it. But there's some comics who I think would have benefited from a qualified comedy class, not just somebody who's, doing jokes and they can't get stage time, but a real qualified comic to help them understand how to get to a point of view. You had mentioned it took you a while to get your understanding of a point of view. Do you think that only comes with time, or do you think that some kind of class from a qualified person would have maybe narrowed that timeline down for you? No, I don't teach a comedy class, so don't worry.
I think that the right advice from anybody the right advice from anybody can definitely expedite certain things, but I don't think it can expedite stage time.
I agree.
So I think what you're saying is, yes, if you talk to like a qualified, like professional, national, like, you know, like a comedy star,
Right.
Like if you sit down and you talk to, I'm sure if you sat down and you talked with Jerry Seinfeld, and
He could give you
and
some insight.
He's going to tell you, yeah, and you could talk to a Seinfeld guy or a clean guy like Regan. Then you talk to a guy who's dirty like a Rock or like a Stanhope or a guy that curses maybe like a Burr or somebody like that. And I'm sure each of them have something that if they say, hey man, like just make sure. But it's things that like, hey, be honest.
Yeah.
Dig deeper. I remember one time I was in Jacksonville, Florida with Burr. I'll give you guys a little gem right here.
There you go.
I was in Jacksonville, Florida with Burr, and we were psyched, man. We did a show. We did a show at the Comedy Zone. We went to see the Jaguars play. The Jaguars played like the Bengals or whatever, and we're just in the bar at the end of the weekend, and I'm eating wings, and I'm looking at him. I'm excited. I'm like this young, you know, I'm a generation younger than Bill, so I'm just like this young up-and-comer. I'm excited. I'm like, man, I want to be great. I want to be great. And he just looked me in the face, and he goes, nobody's great. You're never going to be great if you don't dig deeper. So things like that, digging deeper, being truthful, things like that. But as far as like, I guess you could get some ins and outs, but I think comedy, and I think the beautiful thing about comedy is that initial, I don't want a class.
Right.
I
think there's a stigma to it that you're like,
You don't want your first time on stage to be like, oh, it's graduation. It's graduation. I'm going to hand out some diplomas, and I want your family there.
And you got to bring 10 family members because the club has rules.
Right. And me, I drove down as sick. I remember to this day, as I'm looking in your face, Sean, right now, I remember being in a carload with friends, going down to New York Comedy Club to do my first bringer in New York City ever. I remember seeing the skyline, and I'm fucking going, oh my God, I'm going to New York City to tell jokes. And I'm petrified. I'm sick. I remember the booker goes, dude, you better get him a drink. He doesn't look right. And I'm just waiting there, and I'm drinking a Corona, and my friends have been in there drinking, and I'm waiting. They're going, you're going on soon. You're going on soon. But all of that was part of it. Like, that's the thing. I think anything that takes that away, yeah, it might be, I took a class and I got great. And I'm sure that there are some comedians that took a class and got great. I'm sure that there are.
But never, let's be clear. I've never seen a comic come out of a comedy class great. But I've seen comics that went through comedy club or classes that later became great. And it's one of those things where my mind go, it doesn't hurt. You know, it doesn't hurt. But I've heard the flip side. I've heard comics say, no, it does hurt.
And who the fuck am I or any of us to judge?
Right.
That's the thing. I'm not going to judge anybody. Like, you know, talking about the pandemic, putting things into perspective and stuff. If somebody wants to make a move and that's the move that they need to make, I'm not going to judge them. Right. For me, I liked hey, I'm going to try stand-up comedy, and I'm just going to go in. I'm going to go in. Like, I'm walking into the woods with a flashlight and a Swiss Army knife, and I'm hopefully going to make it.
Compass doesn't work. But
yeah.
I'm just going to go that way.
A comedy class gives you water.
Yeah.
They pack the snack.
Trail mix. Fuck your trail mix
yeah,
comedy.
You know, they give you a tent. So I like the kind of just going in the dark. But yeah, I would never really, to be honest with you, like, I'm never going to judge somebody for that. I just think that comedy is something that comedy is something where I think acting, you probably need a class, because I think it's a different art. Like with acting and even music, you know, unless you're fucking, you know, Chopin or whoever, you're not just going to grab a piano and be like,
it's true.
So I think things like that. I think acting techniques and things with acting or things you call with stand up and being funny. It's just you.
Everybody's so different. Paul, I'm going to get you out of here because I got to get you at the comedy club.
Yes.
But hey, man, it was a pleasure having you. Thanks so much.
Dude, I'll do it again with you, man. You're the best.
I appreciate your time.
I've never liked anybody with a cowboy hat more than I like you.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, it's very rare that you see a guy's nice, you know, smile, happy guy, cowboy hat.
Without this sadness up here.
I know, and you got the star, and I'm going, you know what? Even though I love the G-Man, this is a good guy.
Hey, you know,
this is a good guy.
It happens sometimes. Hey, Paul, pleasure. Thanks so much.
Always, man.